So today we will do class 9th civics chapter 1, what is democracy, why democracy. Now in the first part we are going to discuss the meaning and the definition of the term democracy. If you see the first page of the chapter or the second page, there the definition of the term democracy is given. They are saying that democracy is a form of government where the rulers are elected by the people. Now here we understood some part of the definition, that is democracy. Okay, there is a government, the rulers are elected by what? The people. So we know this much only. But what it is, what's the problem with the definition? It is not sufficient. It is not complete definition. We need to include many features in this definition in order to make it complete. Is that clear? We are unaware about whom we are talking, which people will elect, what kind of government will be there, okay, what decision will be taken by the government, okay, what will be the election process. We do not know anything. So no information is given, no vivid elaboration is not there. So we find this definition as what? As an incomplete definition. So now in this chapter, first topic that we will be covering is what? What is democracy? Here we will be reading the cases of various countries. We'll analyze, we'll read about the government, and then we'll understand what was the defect in their country. And from those defects, from those problems, we will analyze, we'll understand what should be the correct definition of the term democracy. Is that clear? The first definition that is listed in your book is insufficient, it is incomplete, it is not appropriate, or you can say adequate. Okay, so let's come to the main part of the chapter. If you see, there is a discussion between the teacher and various students. They are talking about that why a definition is required, why a democratic country is required, all that discussion. What is the need to study all these cases and then the definition? What is the correct order? First we understand the definition, then we are reading the example. But in this book something else is given, so they are questioning the teacher. So the teacher tells what, that sometimes we need to understand the exact meaning of the word, and then only we can use that word correctly. And that's why we are understanding the meaning of this democracy word by taking various examples, and then we will analyze that what should be the correct definition of the term democracy. Is that clear? The discussion is not at all important. I am coming to the main part of the chapter. Okay. So first let's read about General Pervez Musharraf. Now in Pakistan, what happened? General Pervez Musharraf in 1999 led a military coup. Now what is the meaning of the word military coup? In this military coup, the government is overthrown by the army officials and they become the ruler of the country. So in year 1999, General Pervez Musharraf, he led the military coup in the country and he declared himself the chief executive of the country. Now that time in Pakistan, a democratically elected government was ruling the country. But what happened? The army officials, they came in between and they declared themselves to be the ruler of the country. So he became what? The chief executive, and later after few days he changed his designation to what? The president of the country. Also in 2002 he held a referendum in the country. Now what is the meaning of the word referendum? Referendum क्या होता है? In this, what happened? The opinion of the people, the general public, is taken on a particular political topic. So a referendum was held in the country where people's approval was taken that whether he should continue or not. Okay, they just had to say what? Yes or no. So as a result, what happened? Through that referendum, he was re-elected for the next 5 years. So again for the next 5 years, he became the ruler of the country. Now media and every other, the newspapers, the journalists, they were aware that this referendum was actually based on what? Malpractices and fraud. But they could not do anything because they did not have so much, they were not so powerful as General Pervez Musharraf was then. Okay, so ultimately they could not do anything. They could only talk about the practices, the malpractices that he had undertaken during the referendum. Now what happened? In August 2002, he also issued what? A legal framework order. And under this order, what happened? He increased the powers of the president. Also he changed the constitution of the country, that is Pakistan. So in legal framework order, what he did? He increased his power, okay, increased the presidential power, and also he changed the constitution of the country. First, what he did, he removed the provincial and the national assembly of the country. that time whatever national and provincial assembly were working in the country, okay, the ones those who are taking important decisions were what, they were removed, okay. And even the civilian cabinet. Now what is the civilian cabinet? It's a body, okay, it's a body on it's the most important integrating and supervisory body. It takes decision, important division or decision of the country, like decision related to nuclear weapons, the fights and all that. So this civilian cabinet was also brought under whose control? The army officials. Is that clear? So first he did what? He removed the National Assembly and provincial, and also he brought the civilian cabinet under what? National Security Council, which was actually working under the army officials. Now after that he re-elected. Now obviously now the provincial and the national assemblies were not there, so he elected a new provincial and national assembly, and they were given only few rights. Only उनके हाथ में क्या रख दिया गया था? सिर्फ few rights रखे गए थे. बाकी rest of the rights were in the hands of the army people, and most of them were with the person that is General Pervez Musharraf. So what happened? We saw that there were many defects in this kind of government. Is that clear? What we faced, what we saw in this kind of government, that there was what we cannot call it a democratic country. People, though they have elected this provincial and national assembly, the provincial and the national assembly was elected by the people, but such elected party did not have any kind of right in the country, so it was useless. Okay, though they were elected by the people, okay, though they were elected by the people, but they were of no use because they did not have any right, any kinds of right in their hands. So from here we got the first feature of the word democracy, that the process in a democracy, the final decision making process should actually lie in the hands of those assemblies or those associations which are actually elected by the people. For example, if you see in Pakistan, the provincial and the legislative assembly was elected by the people. Okay, the people did the election, and their representatives were working in the assembly. But that working was of no use because power actually lied in the hands of what? General Pervez Musharraf. So he was exercising all the power, all the control over the country. So we got the first feature is that the what was missing in the definition, that is the final decision making process should actually be done by the body or the assembly or the organization which is actually elected by the people, not by those who are controlling it. Is that clear? In China, elections are held after every 5 years to form the country's parliament. The country's parliament name is what? Congo, rare name Debut Dahui, or National People's Congress. Now, this Congress or National People Congress has the power to elect the president of the country. It has about 3,000 members, and these members are sometimes also elected by the army people. So what happened? This National People's Congress it has the power to do what? The selection of the president of the country. And how many members are working in it? 3,000 members. And few of the members are done what? Appointed by the army. Is that clear? So one who has to participate in the election has to secure whose permission? Chinese Communist Party. Okay, only the ones who got approval from the Chinese Communist Party can participate in the election. Is that clear? So this was something very difficult for people to obtain. Also, only those who were the members of the Chinese Communist Party and 8 other smaller parties. There were some other smaller parties, and they were how many in number? 8, 9 numbers. Only they were allowed to do what? To participate in the election that were held in 2002 and 2003. So what we saw here, that in China equality is not there. Okay, equality is not there. Free and fair elections are not there. One has to secure the permission from the Chinese Communist Party. Then only they can do what? Participate in the election. If you see in our country, there is no such thing. You just have to get a party's name registered. Okay, some formalities are there, and you can stand for the election. Okay, no approval is required from any kind of party. But here we saw what? A Chinese Communist Party is given some kind of weightage. We need to have the permission, and then only a candidate can stand for the election. Now the next case is about Mexico. In Mexico, what happened? Mexico gained independence in 1980, and since then there was no dictatorship and no kind of autocracy. But something happened in 2002, and from that time a party that is called PRI, it was getting re-elected again and again. This party began to rule, and it was continuously it was ruling. So there was something wrong in it. Obviously, if something is again and again repeating itself, so we can understand that something is wrong in the nature. So what happened later, it was studied and later it was found that the entire party was corrupted in nature. They did some kind of frauds, okay, they did malpractices in order to gain votes. If you see on the next page of the chapter, they have clearly listed all the activities that were done by the people of this political party PRI. Now, what happened? First thing that is discussed there is what the government officers, the government officials who were actually working under the government, they were asked to attend the party meetings. The meetings that were held by, hosted by PRI has to be attended by who? The government officials. Also, what happened? The government teachers, they used to force the parents to vote for what? PRI. So they were threatened, they were asked, also they were forced. If you see here in India, nobody forces you. No, not even a teacher I will tell you that this government is wrong, yet this party is wrong, you have to vote for this party. Here we are free. But what was happening in Mexico, the government teachers were actually forcing what? The parents to vote for PRI. Even the media, okay? Media also neglected all the activities of opposition party. Opposition party who was saying things against this PRI, they were doing what? They neglected those activities and they showed only the good things in the television. Also, one more thing happened there, the polling booth, the people where they used to cast the vote, where they used to go to give the vote during the election day. What happened? The address was changed at the last moment. So all this led to what? All this led to some kind of problems. Frauds were there, okay, misunderstandings were there, and as a result, PRI got re-elected again and again. So in China, the real choice was missing. People were not given the choice to choose among many political party, from them the best one. They were not given the choice. In Mexico, there were choices, but people were not allowed to exercise it. Okay, there were opposition parties who were working against PRI, but that was useless because PRI was so powerful and it was supported by everyone that no opposition party could actually do anything against it. So from here we got the second feature of the word democracy, that in a democracy free and fair election should be there and choices should be given to the people so that they can select anyone out of their wish or their choice. Is that clear? So such choice and such free and fair elections were missing in where? China and Mexico. In China, we saw that only the ones who were there in the Chinese Communist Party, they could only form the government. And one needs to have that permission of the party for contesting what? For contesting for elections, okay? For standing for election, they need to have what? A permission from Chinese Communist Party. And only the ones who were there, present in the Communist Party, only they could form the government. While in Mexico, we saw that there were other political parties, but those parties did not have any kind of say in the process. Okay, they were ignored, they were criticized, maybe they were harassed, and they were not allowed to win. Okay, polling booths were changed in the last moment. So from here we got the second feature of the word democracy, that in a democracy free and fair elections should be there and choices should be given so that people could select the best one out of various parties. Now let's move to the next part and look for the third feature of the word democracy. The third feature of the word democracy says what? One man, one vote, one value. Very important and very interesting also. Okay, as soon as you become an adult, that is if you cross, if you are 18, first thing you need to have what? The right to vote. Okay, get the voter ID card. And the third thing, you have to make sure that your vote has some value also. Okay, there should be equality in the country. No discrimination on the basis of anything, caste, creed, and color. There should be no discrimination. There should be what? Equality to be followed in the country. So let's read the cases which are given in this concept. So let's read about one man, one vote, one value. Until 2015, Saudi Arabia women, they did not get the right to vote. It was the first year that 2015 was the first time they ever voted in the country. What happened in 2011? King Abdullah, he passed an order which stated what? That in 2015 women will be participating in the election. And from that moment of time, 2011, the status of women in Saudi Arabia increased. From that time, they were allowed to travel. Okay, they were given permission to travel outside the country. Also, they were given permission to file a divorce case and to do marriages of their choice. So such things were allowed. Before that, before 2015, all things were restricted for the women. So there was what? No equality was there. Okay, no equality was there. Their vote did not have any value. So we should make sure that if you have the right to vote, your vote should have some value also. There should be equality in the country. No kind of discrimination should be there. Next case is about Estonia. Now, Estonia is a small country that is located just next to your Russia. On the left hand side of Russia, you can see Estonia is there. Now, Estonia is doing what? In Estonia, the voting rights lie in the hands of only the ones who are living in the country, not the Russian minority. What happens when we live in a country, we keep on migrating from one place to another. So the ones those who migrated from Russia and were living in Estonia, they were given no rights to vote in the country. So here again we saw that what equality is not followed here. Okay, their rights are ignored. Okay, they are not given the right to vote. And when there is no right, there is no right to vote, their vote has no value also. Let's talk about the third case now, that is Fiji. Now Fiji kya hai? Fiji is what? There are certain group of islands in Australia, near Australia and New Zealand. Those group of islands are actually known as what? Oceania. And Fiji is one of those islands. In Fiji, what is happening? The electoral system, it is actually conducted, या किससे हो रहा है वहाँ election? By the indigenous Fiji, by the people who are actually originally the Fijians there. Okay, and those who are migrants, the Indian Fijian, they are not given that much importance in the electoral system. More importance is given to the people who are actually the Fijians. Okay, and less importance is given to the ones, those who have come from different parts of the country, mainly Indians, are given less important. So Indian Fijians are given less important in Fiji's electoral system. So from here we got the third feature of the word democracy, that is, in a democratic country there is equality between all genders. Okay, there is no discrimination on the basis of caste, creed and color. And see that one man has one vote, and that vote has a value also. Your vote should have a value. So as soon as you become 18, the first thing that you need to do is what? To get your voter ID, not the driving license. That is your requirement. What is your right? The right to vote. So first secure your right and then go for your requirements. Is that clear? And when you cast the vote, when you give the vote, see that your vote has some value also. Is that clear? Now let's move further and talk about Zimbabwe. What happened in Zimbabwe? Now Zimbabwe gained independence in the year 1980. Okay, Zimbabwe gained independence very late. It got independence in 1980. It got independence because of a party named as ZANU-PF. Now, what happened as a result of this party? This party, because of their struggles and protests and all that, they brought independence to Zimbabwe. And as a result, they declared themselves to be the first rulers of the country. Independence hua, azadi mili, and they became what? The rulers of the country. So the country was first ruled by the party that is ZANU-PF. Now, this party was under the leadership of what? Robert Mugabe. Now, Robert Mugabe, he became the president of the country. Also, what he did after becoming president, he increased his presidential powers and made himself less accountable. The opposition parties, whenever they used to hold meetings, whenever they used to meet, the meetings were disturbed. The meetings were disrupted. Okay, public protests and demonstrations were declared illegal in the country, and nobody could speak anything against the president. So media, television that time became what? Fully corrupted in nature. And those who were independent newspaper, okay, those who were true journalists, they were forced and they were what? Harassed and pressurized. Even the judges who have passed judgments against the president, they were also criticized and they were also pressurized to change their judgments. So what happened as a result of all these activities in 2017, he had to finally leave the office. He was removed from the office. Is that clear? So from here we saw things that before and after election, one should be responsible enough to be careful before and after election. Our duty does not stop when we give the vote. The duty starts then. One has to be very careful even after the election what is happening in the country. One should sit and analyze what is the government doing and take decision to elect or re-elect, whether to elect the same party or to elect a very new party. So one has to be free in the country, free to speak, free to have opinions, to hold protest, marches, to say something in the public. So all these activities were forbidden in what? In Zimbabwe under ZANU PF. So one should be what? A government should be such that government should follow the rules and the regulations that are stated by the constitution. So here we got the fourth feature of the word democracy, that is what? The government should be such that it should abide to the constitutional laws. It should function according to the rules and the regulations listed in the constitution of the country. Okay, it should not form its own rule or regulation or restrict any kind of activity in the country. So one, you should do what? As a citizen of the country, you should keep a watchful eye on the elections before and after, so that you elect the best government. So let's summarize all the 4 points of the word democracy. The first point is that the final decision in a democracy, the final decision making process should be done by those organizations or assemblies which are elected by the people, not by the ones which are controlled by the dictators or by the rulers. The final decision making should be done by those group of people which are elected by the general public of the country. The next feature is what? There should be free and fair election in the country. Choices should be offered to the people so that they can select the best one. Okay. The third feature says what? That one man should have one vote, and that vote should have a value also. You need to do what? You need to have a right to vote, and that vote should have some value in the country. And the fourth feature is what? That the government that has formed has to abide by the rules, the regulations which are listed in what? The constitution of the country. So here we covers the first portion of the chapter, that is what is democracy, the meaning of it. So the simple definition that was listed in the beginning of the chapter, that is democracy is a form of government where the rulers are elected by the people, it is totally incorrect, inadequate. We need to improve, include here what? More features. So what are the other features? That the final decision making process should be in the hands of those political parties which are actually elected by the people. Second feature says what? That there should be free and fair election in the country. Choices should be offered to the public. The third says what? That one man should have one vote, and that vote should also have some kind of value. And the fourth one is what? The government that is formed has to abide by the constitutional laws. So all these features make the answer complete, makes the definition complete. Is that clear? So one, if you're writing that it's a form of government where the rulers are elected by the people, it is incomplete. These 4 features or elements have to be listed in the definition of the word democracy. So our first topic is covered, that is what? What is democracy? In my next video, I'll be talking about why democracy. What's the need of the democracy in our country? What arguments are in favor of democracy and what are against? So please like my video, share and comment and let me know my errors. So subscribe my channel for more videos and for the next video on the same chapter, like and also share.